huge roller coaster. It had its massive ups and downs. I started wearing it when I was 9 years old, which is 10 years ago actually, and I didn't wear it for any particular reason other than that my mum wore it, and I had ear infection problems, and it was slightly more stylish than wearing a balaclava all the time. I wore it without question until I was about 13 or 14. It was just another something that I wore the same way I'd wear shoes or a coat. It was just something that I put on when I left the house.
As a Muslim woman, I want people to recognise that I am Muslim, and I think the greatest symbol of being a Muslim is when a woman covers herself and wears a veil. And especially when you're the type of person who's very ambitious and you want to bring about a difference, I would love people to recognise that actually it's the principles of Islam that is inspiring me and making me more determined.
In North London I was like always surrounded by majority English people, so I never ever used to think about it then. But then when I was about 12 or 13, obviously we'd start to get older, so I came to Luton at that point, and I went to an all-girls school, and in that school it was majority Muslim. That was the first time that I probably started considering wearing hijab.
I need to cover modestly, and my interpretation of modestly is that I cover my hair, and it gives me a greater sense of identity. It shows people that I'm Muslim.
I don't think I'm really ready to wear the hijab, but I think once I am, I will wear it. I think it's all about knowing your religion, knowing the rights and wrongs between it, and getting to grips with it as well, and making sure that you know the ins and outs and you have proper knowledge. So I think it's really important that you know what you want to get out of it, why you're going to wear the hijab, what it's really going to bring for you and your identity as well.
I had like a peak in my faith. I was really, suddenly my hijab, it wasn't just, you know, it was it was who I was. I decided then that it's nothing more than a piece of cloth, but it's important to me because it's part of my identity. It's part of who I am. It means that people look at me and recognise me as a Muslim, and that is important to me.
I think the media represent the hijab in a very, very negative fashion. I think in a country where we pride ourselves on freedom of expression, we have to respect that choice. But often that's not what the media do. They portray women who choose to wear the hijab as women who are oppressed.
I went to a primary school to do a talk about Islam, and this little 6-year-old, she said, "Do you wear that thing on your head because your brothers and your dad will beat you up?"
They think we're aliens, don't they?
And I thought, gosh, she's so young and she's asking me such a question. I'm like, where did she get that information from? Obviously from like influences like the media and her parents.
It's very difficult when you're a Muslim woman living in a secular society and expecting in a way to have the rights and freedoms of a woman, but at the same time you're choosing to cover up, and you're choosing to almost in one way or another decide not to act secular. But the one thing that I can recognise that it's very difficult for young Muslim women to feel first and foremost kind of represented within the media, because there isn't, in my view, there isn't any women out there wearing a hijab, being a news presenter on, BBC or on Channel 4 or anything.
If we don't actually step forward, then who's going to do it? Nobody's going to do it. I mean, we're living in a very hard time where we're always being targeted. Now, we see many TV programs, many stereotypes come back every single day. We've seen a lot of, Islamic TV stations and radio stations, but that's just the beginning. Who realistically actually sits down and watches that? I mean, it's catering for the Muslim community, but the stereotypes aren't within the Muslim community, it's within the non-Muslim community. So I think it's about time that Muslims become more involved in, like, say, the non-Islamic media industry.
I don't think the media, I think they kind of represent it as a little bit like it's an oppression. Whereas a lot of people, like I know, I have a lot of my best friends recently have started wearing hijab. They are taking the initiative that they're not going to be the stereotypical hijabi who sits in the corner, doesn't talk to anyone, is just wearing a headscarf, can't really say anything, can't express how they feel, because they feel that it makes them more free to talk about their opinions and so forth. But
often women are seen as being alienated, they're seen as being kept in the home, or they're seen as being not being able to be educated or kind of live a life for themselves, more live a life for their family or live a life for their religion. I think it's really important that the media emphasise that women are actually being liberated. They do actually receive loads of help from their family and support, and it's not necessarily that if they choose to wear the hijab or if they choose to stay within the home and be a housewife, it's their personal choice, and it's not a choice that's been forced upon them.
I went to the sixth form because I was a minority there. There was hardly any. I was the only one in my whole year who wore hijab, and the way they used to talk about Muslims, it used to make me want to dress more like a Muslim, like wear the abaya. And at one point, I actually considered wearing a niqab, just not as for a religious reason, just as a statement, as a form of rebellion. So
I think I went through that kind of similar phase in terms of I was at work and there was some racist incidents there, you know, where the prayer mat was damaged and there was some racist remarks put on, and I just actually wanted to go in and wear a full length dress and a veil just to kind of make them angry. It was a provocative thing to do, but you know, it was just kind of actually, it is a rebellious thing.
Yeah.
That actually this country allows you the freedom of expression. We are lucky to be in a country like that.
I mean, I wore all black for about 4 months because black was the modest colour and it was what good Muslim women did, and I didn't listen to music, and music is like my life, and I had loads of merchandise for Linkin Park and just threw it all away because Linkin Park is haram, which some people will still argue that it is, but at the time that's what I thought. I firmly believed in.
There's a great challenge out there for Muslim women like me to actually step up to the margin and say we're going to actually bring about a change, and we're going to do that by kind of interacting with the media, by making sure that there are voices to be catered for. There are a lot of Muslim women out there that don't actually want their voices to be heard. They just don't want to be a part of the challenge. But you make change by challenging.
I think sometimes people are shocked actually to see women that have got hijabs and that are able to go out and do normal things, because actually they think, oh, that's not allowed, is it? And you wear the hijab, or you're in this native dress, as they would say, or you're head dressing. So how come that's weird that you're allowed to do this and you're allowed to do that? People have made comments about you, haven't they, that you're quite a liberal Muslim.
Yeah.
Because I never knew
I
that.
think, no, I'm not a liberal Muslim, I'm just a Muslim.
I love to get involved in the media, and I'm always the type of person where I kind of send out things, pick up the phone, call in, say, look, I'm a Muslim woman doing this and doing that.
And that I've decided to do this the same way that I decided my scarf was part of my identity, and the same way now I've decided that it's not. I like that, taking ownership, and it's almost part of growing up, you could argue.
I think it's important that these young individuals are able to communicate, because the society that we live in now is going to be their society in the future, and they need to make sure that what's going on right now is perfect for later on, is like to their advantage later on. I think that's important that they do that.
I think the difficult journey has already been kind of walked across, because at the time of when September the 11th happened, that's when most hostility happened, and then of course you had the July bombings also in London. But I think that now, if you look at Arabia and you see a lot of people as well that are the kind of protesting and they're trying to remove these dictatorships and stuff, people and the whole world is starting to see that actually the Islamic continents have had enough of being portrayed or being kind of pressurized to a certain type of view. So I think people are starting to educate themselves more about what it means to be a Muslim, what it means to be a Muslim woman, and how actually fiery we can be. We've got a voice, we've got an opinion, let's not forget that.